Всем добрый день. Здравствуйте, доктор.
Hello, everyone. Hi, Dr. Lightman.
Hello.
We're continuing our course, Management Skills. The topic of our meeting is life limitations and time management. There's a lot of questions. Our life itself is the limitation to our I. There's things, essential limitations, like now, natural limitations like pandemic, and soon to come financial crisis. There's also limits that humanity set for themselves artificially, starting with kindergarten, school, sport, family, work. What is the root of limitations that a person is not free?
How could it be free? Explain, please. How do you envision a person or whoever free in nature? If nature is an accumulation of the laws and forces of nature that work only together, coming out of one common goal, one point. There's nothing free in nature. Nothing, no matter what you say, starting with the entire universe, galaxies, and ending with any living creature on this little planet.
There's no such thing as freedom?
What is freedom? It's what? Do whatever I feel like. What do I feel like doing? I want to be free?
Yes, who's determined it?
Yeah, and so on. The concept of freedom, it's not absolute, it's relative.
Okay, we're talking about the person that is looking for the meaning of life, and for that that's his goal, and he, of course, has to plan it somehow and set goals, a certain framework for himself to reach it. Do they contradict freedom?
No. Suppose I want to achieve freedom, so I think about it a lot. Then what can I do? I'm all the time in some kind of framework under certain laws, circumstances, changes that influence me. And of course, I'm not free. But if I agree to these changes with whatever is working on me, and I completely justify their influence over me, my reaction to all of this way I won't feel their limitations, their pressure on me, and so on, then I'll feel free.
That's an interesting approach. So I'm always experiencing pressure.
Billions and billions of different factors, if I agree to all of them, and I happily integrate in their actions, meaning by no means do I resist, but to the contrary. Every time, happily, I accept their influence over me, therefore, I, on my part, feel no resistance.
This is called freedom, that I agree to this pressure?
I feel no pressure. I feel no pressure. In this case, I'm free. But it's on condition that I understand what's going on with me. I understand, I feel, I grasp, I agree to it. Absolutely.
There's people that can exist within limits. There's those that cannot exist without limits. What is your opinion? What's the right approach here?
Oh, you see, there's this expression called freedom is a conscious necessity, meaning that if I feel the need to be subordinated, then in these limitations, I'm already free. But that's not true, because one way or another, I'm forced to. And here, in the research of our nature, the nature that we're in, we have to understand that it's my own desire, that I'm not forced. My own free desire is to subordinate myself to all the laws and forces of nature and elevate myself to the degree of absolute bestowal. That's complete freedom.
Can you say that the greater desires of a person are, the more limitations he'll have to follow, or otherwise?
Чем больше у человека, допустим, эгоизм, тем больше ему приходится...
Say the greater ego one has, the more limits he'll have to have.
Obviously, he feels worse within the framework of our world that force him to subordinate himself, limiting him, and so on. And the more he feels the need, the more he has to put in efforts in the attainment of the upper world to completely agree with the tremendous governance of the Creator that he feels in his big ego.
So people that have basic desires, family and protection, they are the more free, the freest, and otherwise, on the contrary, politicians and others.
Yeah, anyone greater than his friend, his desires are greater, his ego is greater than of that person.
What kind of daily routine a person should have in order to be an effective element in the system?
To study these rules and to follow them, understanding their goal, and to reach such a level where these laws will become something that I agree to, that I want, and then you won't feel the pressure.
Scientists say that in the morning our brain is capable of solving complex problems, and towards the evening it's better to do more creative things. What do you think? The time of the day that's connected with the physiology of our body, can it influence the work of thinner and more sensitive parts of our organism?
Of course, when I studied with certain great Kabbalists that are no longer with us, I observed how incapable they are even of seriously studying even in the evening, but in the early morning. Suppose they get up at 12 a.m. and plug into the higher levels and worlds and work.
Who do you think is more prone to order, a man or a woman?
Depending on what level. On the animate level, women. Maybe they don't think about it, don't understand it, but on the level of attaining and realizing the governance, man.
Is your attitude to order change with age?
It doesn't depend on the age, maybe, but profession, the character of the study.
We say that every next generation needs greater freedom, breaks rules. Where is this coming from?
No, it's not that it breaks the previous boundaries, but it simply can't exist in them because they're made differently. They have different desires, a different ego, different priorities, and therefore they can't carry out those conditions, those limitations that the previous generation realized happily or with minimum spending of energy.
We see that the world is becoming more integral. People are moving around. There's a change in the rights, and state borders, countries' borders are more free. There's a tendency to to have less limits. Is there a contradiction here?
No contradiction. Simply that humanity starts feeling the next level of its development, and therefore the previous boundaries for it seem completely unnecessary. Meaning, we think that the new generation doesn't want our conditions, doesn't want our laws. It's not just that they don't want it, they're created with such desires already that can't meet these conditions and feel them as something necessary.
Let's talk practically here. There is a phenomenon that's called time management. I gathered a couple of advice that they have around it, that they collected throughout the last couple of years. Here are the rules, time management rules. Feel every day as your last day.
You can relate to things that way and feel everything as one day, one eternal day.
So in order to determine something that is important, you have to relate to every day as your last day. If I would perceive my day this way, I would only do correct and right things.
You can't say that, even though that it's very conditional.
Plan and set goals. So a person should plan for a week or for a day. Do you have to plan for a greater time? Do you plan for a month or for a year, or there's no point?
You can plan for infinity.
So you have to plan.
Absolutely. I build such plans, I make such plans as though ahead of me there is an unlimited number of years of existence and life and so on.
So you calculate your actions.
If a person starts thinking about the end, he cannot correctly program himself.
It's very important to have a final goal, and everything has to come out of it.
Yes, but this final goal, even if it is not does not meet the boundaries of this life, it doesn't matter.
We understand that you plan for eternity, but sometimes there's always priorities. How do you prioritize what's more important now? Is there a method to do that? What do you think is important now out of the goals that you have currently? Is there a criteria?
That's simply how life determines things. I have tremendous commitments, like doing these shows like this one, to give lesson from 3 till 6 a.m., afterwards from 10 till 1 a.m. Give these talks, shows, then meet with my group 3 times a day.
So you have everything planned?
Well, everything's filled, packed.
Are there any methods how to tackle things that a person has to do at the same time? What's more important and what's less?
Is it more important to the world or to myself?
The rule number 4, register your goals, write them down in a calendar or a notebook.
Yes, I have a diary, a calendar, in which everything's written down. I have a secretary that leads this calendar, manages it, and if someone asks to have a talk with me or something, so it'll be at a normal time.
That sort of advice is useful for every person, not just for a busy person, a top manager, Every person can plan and use those rules. But rule number 5, learn to say no. Do you follow this? Let's say everything is planned in your life, and then someone comes in and says, "Oh, I need this and that." Do you say no?
No problem.
It's important. Yes. You use it?
Of course.
Rule number 6, acquire good habits. They're saying that in order for me to acquire a good habit, you have to follow it for 21 days. I don't know if it's true.
I don't know. Never done it.
There's some examples of good habits. Workout, never to be late, put things in their place after being used. What kind of habit would you advise people to acquire that would be beneficial for them?
Work according to schedule.
You think it's important?
Of course it is. I can show you my schedule, my calendar. You'll see what's going on there.
Why is it so important to live according to the schedule?
In order to prioritize, in order to be able to fit everything, and what can you leave time for, what can't you, in order not to push yourself into a kind of framework that you can't realize, keep. For example, today, I have an event where I have to go to a birthday. There are such events like where I have to sit and edit a book. I have to be in a clip. I have to meet my group. There are different kinds of events. I already finished I worked on my blog already, and my Twitter. Meaning all of this, you have to somehow sort it all.
So someone can look at this life and would say, why? What for? That's not freedom.
I think that by that I'm realizing my purpose in life, and I'm happy about it because then I'm free. What does it mean to be free? To run around like a dog sniffing every corner?
No, freedom is when you are free to do whatever you want.
That's not freedom. It's not freedom. What are you going to do then? If you don't know what to do, and if you know what to do, then you do according to a schedule.
So we're all talking about regarding the goal. If one didn't have a goal that he wants to reach, then it's desirable to just be like this dog.
Well, we're not talking about that. But actually, a person has to be engaged in or concerned with to what measure is his calendar filled and to what measure is he correctly realizing it. And in it, there has to be time for yourself, your hobbies, maybe to work out, for everything. But it has to be planned. Otherwise, you won't be able to do anything in the time that you were given.
By the way, the rule number 7 is plan your rest, your vacation. Do you think vacation is important for a person?
It depends on the circumstances, first and foremost.
You think it's important to spend time on yourself, and how much?
How much? To be ready for realizing necessary work.
So everyone determines it for himself?
Maybe I have to rest for 5 hours and someone has to rest for 30 minutes.
How much time does a person have to be on his own?
It's also every person determines according to the essence of his spiritual work,
Вы рекомендуете заложить в план...
Do you recommend to...
If a person needs it, yes. If not, then not.
So only if he needs it.
Otherwise, how can you force a person to live according to a schedule, a rhythm of life, a certain rhythm, only according to the needs that he feels that he has to realize?
Okay. The most interesting here, let's draw some conclusion. What I see that there's a lot of methods, but very few actually talk about how to actually apply those advice practically to manage your time properly, other than having the environment that is helping a person to follow time management. Yes. Okay, let's go to Blitz. A lot of questions, fast answers. What should you not spend your time on?
Unnecessary things.
Can you learn how to time manage yours?
Yes, if you systemically evaluate your options.
Will you spend too much time while managing your time?
No, that's incorrect.
They say that a person does not have to have free time, is that everything has to be planned ahead.
If it's planned in advance, even vacation isn't considered free time.
So a person have to take care that he won't have any time wasting, any free time?
That there won't be such time where he simply doesn't know what to do.
So you're a person that goes according to the schedule.
I can write in my calendar that I'm going to lay on the couch for 5 years, look at the ceiling, and think.
But it has to be written down?
True. And if not, then I always have some kind of things that I put aside that I have to finish.
Do you have to sit and think? Do you have to have time for that? Or is it connected to your actions?
I don't know. These things are far from me. Sit, meditate. No. There are Kabbalistic sources that you sit and study, but to simply sit on your butt and meditate, this I don't get. There has to be a direction that is given to the animate body in order for it to start rising a bit above itself.
Lovers had one time, prisoners another, young people have slow time, older are slower time.
It's
Why?
only a feeling. Time doesn't exist. It exists only in our feeling, like the rest of the world.
The most beautiful woman turns into an old one with time. Why time ruins beauty?
That's subjective. Subjective, depending on what kind of beauty do you look at. And if you exist next to a person, then you pay no attention how they grow old, how you grow old, even though that it's natural. The problem is that these are the standards of beauty that we set. External, your appearance, physical appearance, and we do not associate it with the inner beauty.
What is time, according to you?
Time is the inner feeling of each and every one of us.
They're saying that lovers don't have notion of time. Why is it so?
Because they're enjoying themselves and they forget about that, it's passing.
So if you're having pleasure, then time is different?
He doesn't see it.
Is it true that time kills everything?
Time kills everything, including everything, unless we are engaged in renewing our impressions. If we don't work on that, they disappear.
So everything disappears, including love. Do you think time changes people?
Sure it does.
So even when a person is not engaging in self-analysis?
The factor of time itself changes a person. It's called the change of reshimot.
When did time start? And is there a place where there's no time?
Time doesn't exist altogether besides how we feel it. Besides in that we feel it.
Is there a person? Is there a time without a person?
No. And in general, without man, nothing exists. Everything that exists, it's what a person feels.
Another question. Time is an absolute value or relative?
No, it's absolutely relative. Meaning that it's completely relative.
Can we teleport in time?
Since time does not exist, as is, and it's only a part of our perception of the universe, of life, of ourselves, then teleportation doesn't exist either, as is.
Does time have secrets?
I don't get this question. What do you mean, the secrets of time? If time does not exist in and of itself, if it's a subjective feeling of a person, then to reveal this means to reveal the secret.
Can you stop time?
No problem. Stop it for yourself, and that's that. If you'll rise above time, then you'll stop it that way.
Time is humans' helper or enemy?
Depends on how you look at it. If you start measuring yourself in relation to time, then it helps you.
Last question. Do you have enough time, or you are one of those people who say at the end of the day that I would need a couple more hours?
No, I came to such a state where whatever I want happens, whatever I don't want doesn't happen, and what I couldn't and didn't happen, for me too, it's normal as though it has happened, worked out.
As far as I know, you're a very busy person. I know your calendar. And I never heard from you that you would say that you don't have enough time.
No, I have plenty of it.
I myself never have enough time.
So you're a bad organizer.
I'm trying.
To try, that's one thing, but to be that way, that's something else.
It's always that you want to do more.
You're taking upon yourself too much, and therefore you're falling behind, and what you are doing, maybe you're doing wrong. Forbidden.
So this is an indicator.
You have to leave time for everything. Rest, thoughts, everything, and not to be in any kind of rush.
Well, with the rest, there's no problem. I always have enough. But for work, that's different thing. Okay, so indicator is something that I have to agree with whatever I have.
Agreeing with the flow of time and with what's happening.
Yeah, maybe if I had more time, I would do some stupid thing.
Undoubtedly.
Thank you very much. I hope you heard advice how to manage your time and regulate yourself. Thank you very much.
All the
Bye.
best.